welcome to the latest episode of Advisor Marketing Mindset. I'm Tina Beck, President of Elite Marketing Concepts, and today I have a very special guest, someone who I have known for a long time, Brad Wheeler, President of Shaker Investments. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Thanks, Tina.
Very glad to have you here. For those of you listening, Brad is one of the original Elite Marketing Concepts clients, and Shaker Investments came to us with some very specific marketing goals, and we have worked together for nearly a year and a half now, achieving those. And the lessons that we've learned through that process are just something I find really fascinating, from the idea of how marketing can influence the sales component of a financial services organization, and in addition to that, also how geo-targeting and geo-targeting technology can influence the sales component of a large financial services organization. So today we are going to dive deep into that. Brad and I are going to peel back the curtain and share all the secrets of everything we have been working on for a very long time. But to kick things off, for those of you who don't know Brad, Brad, why don't you share for our listeners a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Shaker?
Sure. Thanks, Tina. Shaker Investments is based in Cleveland, Ohio. Firm's been around for a little over 30 years, and I think what we're known for, we specialize in, we're an asset manager that's focused on small cap growth companies. And, Edward Hemmelgarn's the CEO. He started this business, like, as I mentioned, 30 years ago out of his bedroom. I think some of the things he's put in place have really, sustained over time, specifically, how he thinks about the world, some of the values he put in place. And we're going to do things first class. We're going to think of clients first. It's an organization where, we're small enough that we're always communicating, which is what I liked about it. But also we think big like larger firms. And that's what attracted me to Shaker. There's a real opportunity here, as we're very well known in the Midwest. And as Tina mentioned, we're growing consistently across the United States, and hopefully at some point over in other geographies around the world. My background, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and worked in the financial service industries all my life. Started in banking, where as a commercial lender, you had to learn a lot about how to lend money to companies, and importantly, how to get it back. Then I moved into work with one of my clients on the equity research side, on the sell side, and ultimately started as a founding partner of a sell-side research firm back in 2007. What led me to Shaker, it's a funny story. I got a call from a search firm out of New York City. He paid a considerable amount of money to find a new person to run sales and marketing. I live 5 blocks away from Edward, and after this national search, he yelled at me and said, why didn't you tell me you're looking for a job? And I said, I wasn't looking for a job. And I ended up coming to Shaker initially as the head of sales and marketing, and took over the president role about 2 years ago. So still my focus is growing the business, but I've added some responsibilities as the president of the firm.
That's one of my favorite stories about having worked with you. Neither Brad or I were presidents of the company when we started working together, and we've been on partners in crime and getting the same growth trajectory. So I think we both got our titles right around the same time. I always think fondly of kind of how this program has developed, and then the role we've all played, and kind of where the last year has gone. Talking about Shaker's background, one of the things that, even when I first met with you and your team, and we were being considered for this project in terms of taking you national, was the very strong values-based messaging that you had developed from the sales and marketing standpoint, and the very clear vision of service that Edwards had since the very beginning. And that's very unique. And I think a lot of listeners who are hearing this today might really respond to this kind of messaging. Is when you have something strong like that, but you're looking to evolve it and take it to the next level, how do you do that, and what considerations go into that so that you keep that core of who you are true? And I think that's something you're really expert at. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you as a leader within the organization kind of guided the company through that process.
There's really 2 questions there, I think. The values part, which is one of the things that attracted me to Shaker Investments, and then how you maintain that as you grow your business. And when I sat down with Edward, we talked about you know, the vision and the future and things that he'd done in the past and things that I'd done. And it seemed like we were aligned and on the same page in how we thought about the business and thought about how you treat people, thought how you treat clients. And when I say people, you know, that means people internally, people within the firm. And so there was always a message where when we talked, you know, we're going to do things first class. We're going to do things the right way. And we're going to take it, you know, we're going to make sure that not only our clients being serviced and helped, but, you know, the people within the firm are growing and developing their skill sets. And, you know, he talked to me about, you know, when we grow this, the hardest client to replace is the one you lose. And so he's always been really focused on client services. And, you know, he said, how do we deliver a message to clients as we grow? We can't let things, we don't want to change our approach to the business. And so we put some, you know, we've always had a good process on research, how we buy and pick stocks. And then that was my job to not only grow the business, but how do we maintain the client service reputation that we had. So I worked with the team to develop a process to make sure that little things like, you know, our correspondence goes out certain days. You call a client back within 3 hours. There's certain things that we've tried to do to maintain how we work and continue to develop not only our brand, but maintain our reputation, maintain the values that he had put in place. And the positive thing was that we both thought about the world the same way. And so it wasn't that hard for me. It was just continuing to communicate that message to the people within the firm and make sure that as our name gets out there and people see us growing, that, hey, we're not going to forget about the clients that are with us now. And we've done a very good job of maintaining. And I think that's one thing that's going on in the financial service industry is there's a lot of consolidation. And with that consolidation, there's people that are, I would argue, are not getting the service that they used to. And we take pride in being able to deliver that customer service, client service message.
And I think this speaks a lot to the branding component of marketing. Marketing, I always think, is the tactics. But brand, do you have a strong brand? What is the vision for that brand? And keeping the brand integrity through whatever evolutions it goes through is just so vitally important and something that I think really is exemplified in kind of where Shaker was and where Shaker's going and where it is now. Really just a fantastic testament to that core vision staying in place. In terms of marketing strategies and tactics, I mean, I know, you know me, I have my opinions on which ones we've had that are the best ones that got us to the point where the clients still have the cohesive brand message. But I want to hear from you about which tactics that we've employed, because for my listeners who are frequent in hearing my messaging, you know, I'm huge on SEO, you know, I'm huge on geo-targeting, you know, I'm huge on social media and consistent newsletter and media relations. But Brad's experienced it all, so this is your chance to hear right from someone who's worked with me for a long time. What were your favorites out of that mix and why, and how do you think they helped you?
When you and I sat down, one thing I liked about how our relationship developed is we spent time, you spent a lot of time learning not only Shaker, but the individuals. I think you interviewed everybody in the firm as you got to know us, which I thought was pretty unique. And, you know, I talked to a lot of firms locally in the Midwest that talked about what they'd done in the past and not what they were going to do in the future. And I think that's what kicked off our relationship. And what I learned was as we grow this brand, a lot of it's about Shaker and what we've done, but a lot of it's about the people. And, you know, we've done a very good job of delivering a message about who the people are at Shaker Investments, you know, their character, culture, not only what we do as a firm, but what we do as individuals. And I think that was something that I've enjoyed a lot. I found that I think you and I've talked about this in the past, you know, putting posts about, you know, I do yoga, and we did a yoga post there. That was one where I got so many responses from people all over the country, you know, saying, wow, this guy not only plays hockey, he does yoga. And Ashley's done the same thing. We talk about, you know, our brand is great. What we've done as far as with Shaker, it continues to develop. Some of that's performance driven, and as we get the messaging out, I've learned that, you know, people care, you know, people want to know what the people are, who the people are, and what they do. And that's been very helpful in developing a lot of relationships. And I questioned it at first, as you know, you and I went at it. We were trying to figure out if I wanted to do this or not. And it turned out to be the right thing to do. So, you know, our brand is not only Shaker, but the people. And that's gets back to some of the values we talked about.
For those listening, do a quick search on Shaker and the word yoga, and you'll see the post that Brad's talking about. In addition to being a very avid and good hockey player, he uses yoga for mindset and resetting during the day. And I convinced him to do a social post that let people know that. And it was, to this day, the highest performing post. But I think it took us about 10 conversations for me to convince you, including one in person, when you were down here in the region with your wife visiting, to get you to do it. And in the end, it's who you, and I always say, who you are is how you market. And when you create a strong brand voice, plus the added benefit of Shaker having that strong Cleveland presence, then it just becomes a matter of, okay, I've got a great story here to tell. I've framed out a great story in terms of new people coming to the party and learning. How do I get the word out? And the next tactic that we used kind of in the process was geo-targeting. We really dove deep into that and continue to this day use geo-targeting and SEO tactics to amplify that firm base and then that strong brand message we've created to bring new people into the party. And the reason that that works, particularly in a case like yours, is that with everything aligned, when somebody new sees the information, there's a level of credibility because you already have a strong local presence. They get to know you because we have the messaging out from the team, not just the day-to-day investment side, but who you are as individuals. And then that becomes the knowing and respect and trust that drives somebody wanting to learn more and having a business relationship. So basic for everyone listening today, geo-targeting is a way to take marketing messages and then digitally push them to the right prospects and the right individuals using digital search engine optimization, geofencing to expand your target market out of a specific region. So those were the tactics we employed with Shaker. And without getting into too much of the nitty gritty of the technical side, anybody who's interested in that can always message me through our contact information on our YouTube channel for Advisor Marketing Mindset. But Brad, I want you to share with everyone, because this was new to you when I brought this to you and I started integrating this into the program. And I think many of the professionals listening today, this is new to them too. They don't even know if they should be doing this. Does it even make any sense? Do I invest my valuable time and energy into doing it? Can you share just how do you feel it helped doing the geo-targeting program?
You know, I've always targeted by city in my career, just how my career in the financial services industry has shaped up. But I never tracked it the right way, in my opinion. You know, I have all this new technology I'm going to talk a little bit about that you've helped us with, but I've also got this whiteboard, which is old technology, and it lists the target cities that Ashley and I and the rest of the team are targeting. You know, so we would go out and we would think, okay, we're going to target a certain city, but how do I know I'm having an impact there? And, you know, we've worked on our tech stack to improve a few things. You know, we've used our CRM to see how we're doing. But you and I would sit down quarterly and I would see, you know, it takes time to develop a relationship. We'd sit down and we could specifically see, okay, this percentage of people opened and looked at our product and looked at our branding and hit on our LinkedIn page in San Francisco, certain people in Pittsburgh, you know, we targeted Vero Beach and we had very high success in some of those markets. So it allowed me to say, okay, two things. One, when I saw us having an impact in certain cities, I knew there was a real opportunity there. But it also led me to know, you know what, if certain things weren't working, if the messaging wasn't right in certain parts of the country, you know, maybe there wasn't enough opportunity there, or maybe the messaging needed to be different. But, you know, we track now, you know, we never tracked our Google hits. We never tracked our LinkedIn hits. And some of the things that you put in place and we talk about, again, in financial services is different. It's not like when you market Coke or Pepsi, you see immediate impact in certain cities. This financial service industry, it takes some time, but you get small wins where you understand you're heading in the right direction. And that's part of you know, being a good salesperson and being a leader, is you have to have belief in the process you put in place. And working with you, I've been able to figure out, okay, we are having an impact in these cities. Let's keep messaging there. Let's keep doing it this way. And it's really gave me confidence and gave the team confidence in, when we go after certain markets, that we're having an impact. And that's been the biggest part for me, is being able to say, okay, we're doing things the right way in these cities. Let's keep going at it. And it takes time. It takes a long time to have an impact, but seeing these small wins is leading to business. And I tell Ashley and I tell Casey and I tell everyone this: if you get one client in a city, you can build off of that. It's a momentum game, and that's what we've been able to do in some of the new geographies we've gone after.
One of the things that I love about what you just said too is that it's optimized your time as a leader of the company. That, okay, we wanted to hit one spot, but if the message isn't resonating here and it's resonating out somewhere else, we can scale faster if I go all in on that market, and we can either evaluate whether the other one is right for us or come back to it later if we want to hit it again, because we're just going to be stronger for having gone where we're seeing the best opportunity. So using it, the geo-targeting, not just to grow the brand, but as a tool to maximize your sales efforts, I just think is a really key point for anyone listening to take away from this, because this is I think that's a fantastic methodology that you use in terms of the data that you're getting, the raw marketing data. With all of that said, so I know we've grown you in a lot of different areas, but a point of pride, at least for me, is that we've kept you strong in Cleveland. We never went away from kind of that Cleveland first. We're a Cleveland-based company. That's a part of the branding and the message. We are Cleveland. We've been in Cleveland. Your leadership is active philanthropically in Cleveland, a huge part of the community. From your perspective as the president of Shaker, how has you approached keeping that Cleveland-centric messaging along with the brand development into other regions?
The one thing I like about having our business in Cleveland is I'm not afraid to compete in the money centers. I'm not afraid to compete in Boston, New York. I've done that my whole career. And our messaging is very strong here. And some of the messaging I deliver, not only the branding, but also, being out of the groupthink of some of these larger markets can be an advantage for us. And there's a lot of groupthink in these money center cities where people own the same names. And we try to leverage the fact that our strength in Cleveland, that's the hub. We try to grow around it, but also we try to explain to them, we think about the world a little bit differently, and this is some of the cities we target, and what you're going to get from us is, maybe a little bit different. It's a concentrated product. We think about the world differently, but I also don't want to lose the base, and the base is the Cleveland and the Midwest, and it's a big part of our client base, a big part of our culture. It's funny, I called in London in my prior job, and the only thing people knew about Cleveland at the time was LeBron James. They didn't even know where to find it. But over time, I was able to explain to them, look, here's what we do. Here's how we're different. But we never want to lose that focus. And, even on a snowy, cold day like today, it's part of growing up in the city and part of the culture of being a Clevelander. And we've been able to keep that. And I think that what's new to Shaker is continuing to grow in different markets, leveraging the fact that we're here. And, that in today's day and age, with the way technology moves, you can be anywhere, but also we're focused on maintaining that client base that we have here, but also continuing to develop and explain to people how you can take advantage of someone that's not in certain cities. And it's resonated. We've been able to attract clients. It takes some time, but they say, yeah, your stocks are different. And that's what's important to people. You don't want to have a lot of the same names in your portfolio. And that's what we've been able to do for clients, both here and now in certain cities we've targeted.
You mentioned technology. So let's dive into technology a little bit, because that will continue for all of us in financial services to be something that is ever evolving and ever important. It will never be the same from quarter to quarter in terms of what technology we can access and how it's used. And when you stay on top of it and you use it efficiently and effectively, huge impact in terms of how you can grow and scale your business. So I know you have a lot of exciting things that you've employed to date, as well as some things on the horizon. So can you share, what you're doing and some of your thoughts on where you see those trends going for financial services professionals?
It's interesting. Like it is amazing how fast how fast things are changing. You know, it used to be when I started in the business, stocks were traded in fractions. That's kind of tells you how old I am. But today, you know, there's just new technology, whether it be, you know, TAMPs, which provide, these are turnkey asset management products that provide wealth managers and independent advisors with the access and tools to run their business effectively, simplify their business. We're actively pursuing some of those. We've got on some TAMP platforms where people can access our product. You know, it's great for investment advisors because there's someone that vets firms like us. Some, you know, you have to have a certain performance standards, risk-adjusted returns to get on these platforms. So we're taking advantage of some of that technology. You know, we talked a lot about, you hear about AI all the time. We're starting to put that into our business model where we, you know, from an analytical standpoint, we read, you know, I get 100 emails today on articles. I take advantage, some I read, some I just summarize in AI. You know, we're trying to take advantage of all the technologies out there. And I think as a salesperson, you're always running hard. So at times you don't get to take advantage or learn some of these things. But as the president, I pushed hard to our team, hey, let's take advantage of some of these technologies. Don't be afraid to do it. You know, if it doesn't work, you know, if technology isn't helpful, then move on from it. And, you know, we've really focused on just finding the technologies that can help our firm. Now, compliance has gotten a lot easier for us because we've outsourced. Casey's our chief compliance officer, and she came to me and said, I think this would help me. And I said, write it up in one page. And she wrote it up. And I said, it's a good investment. It'll help you and save time. So the one thing I think people and leaders don't do is they need to make sure that they're at least looking at certain new technologies. Or what I often do is I have someone in our firm say, hey, Chris Hemmelgarn, you know tech better than me. Summarize this. Tell me if you think this is a good technology, something we can use to help our business. And so, you know, I would say the biggest things we're doing better is we're much better at compliance. Our CRM is much more sophisticated than it used to be. You know, LinkedIn is a tool where there's a lot more information there and you can take advantage of that. And again, it sounds basic, but this is something where rather than just looking at things, how do I take advantage of LinkedIn? How do I take advantage of the CRM? How do I take advantage of the compliance, tracking compliance better than we used to? And it's not easy because it is changing fast and I get 100 emails a day and I got to figure out, okay, this is the one that makes sense. But as a leader, I think that's important. I think you need to continue to leverage technology, use technology, and don't be afraid to do it.
That's a problem-solving approach, right? I mean, you're tackling it from, okay, I want to use it. How can I make it work? What do we have to do to get there to make it work? I think the challenge in our industry, and it's understandable for anybody who has this mindset, but as you mentioned with the compliance, I think a lot of people tend to just in a leadership role, scratch the surface of some of the new technologies that are out there because, oh, I'm afraid it's not going to go through compliance. So should I spend my time solving for this problem? Oh, you know, how can I make this easier or implement this? It looks like I'm going to have to take a couple steps to get there. So we use it at a surface level when there are ways and tactics to implement some of the most creative technologies, regardless of what type of financial services firm you are, with a problem solving approach, knowing it might not be overnight, but you can get there. And I think that's something big that I always strive to when I'm looking at, okay, how am I going to implement technology for this particular situation in terms of marketing and branding, and what do I have to do to implement it, and knowing I might not be able to just use it right out of the gate. So I think that I love hearing those stories and that background, and particularly the part about Casey and compliance, because it's achievable. There's just some steps as a leader you have to plan for and go through, and I think that's a really great share for everybody, that backstory of how you made that happen. As we're approaching up on time here, that always happens, right? I get into these great conversations with guests, and if anybody's listening, the prep work on the podcast is always, okay, so these are the questions we're going to go through, and I am consistently saying, I bet you we get close to running out of time for our conversation, and today we are coming up on the end of our time with Brad, so I have one big question that I want to wrap up with, and please share anything and everything you think about what I'm about to say. But picture the listener on the other side right now, because we're on video and audio for our listeners. And if you're an executive in financial services, and it's somebody who's considering, but has achieved the things that you have with the marketing and branding. So you're an executive. It's someone considering geo-targeting. It's someone considering going out onto social media. Someone considering integrating some AI technologies to help scale the sales component. What is the biggest piece of advice you can give to someone who's considering it now that you're on the other end of it and you've put the process in place?
Where this whole process has helped us and how we build the mosaic of the brand and sales and leveraging technology, it all ties in, but it takes time to sort of integrate things, I think. And I think about our business and what needs to, what we need to do to get to the next level, and I said, oh, how do we grow this brand and not lose our client service? How do we spend money in technology and not blow the budget? So I sort of just draw a circle and I carve out things and I say, okay, I had to find the right person to help me grow this brand. And we have with the lead consultant. And I did a lot of work that, we interviewed a lot of people. So that was sort of things that was part of the puzzle. We had to fine tune our messaging with whether it be our website and how we deliver information quarterly, monthly, and what is that process? That was another piece of the puzzle. And then we had a piece where how do we continue to grow and make sure our research team is buying off on this and understanding our brand development. And there was some pushback there. So that was another piece of the puzzle where I had to make sure I was communicating why we're doing what we're doing and how it's going to help grow the business. So my advice would be, I like to, Fridays is my day to sort of just take a little bit of time to think about the firm in general, how I can grow, how I can improve things. And I spent a lot of time figuring out how I wanted to position the firm and how we can continue to develop. And I just put these pieces together over a certain amount of time and I trusted my instincts. And I said, we're going to develop the brand. We're going to continue to do the client service piece. We're going to continue to improve technology. And most importantly, we're going to continue to deliver performance. And those are kind of the silos where I think about the firm, and each person understands, where we're trying to go. And each person in the firm understands how we're trying to get there. And I let them do their jobs. The research team, if they do their job, we will be successful. If I can get the brand development with you and Ashley and the rest of the team and these guys buy in, we will be successful. So I just continue to try to create those silos where I thought if we brought them together, it would create a great mosaic for Shaker Investments. And at times you got attacked if it's not working right, but so far, knock on wood, we've continued, we've almost doubled the business in the last 4 years. And I think the next doubling will be easier. At least that's what I keep telling myself. So yeah, if I was somewhere starting in my position, and again, I started in a different role. I was sales and marketing. So I was not thinking about the whole firm. I was just thinking about sales. And when I took over as president, that's when I started to think more about, how do I continue to develop this whole group, not only to sales and marketing side of the branding, but also the research team, the compliance team. Yeah, so I just kind of trust my instincts. I have a plan, I have a strategy, and I have several mentors where I bounce things off of. I think that's important. People have been in positions in this position, maybe in different roles, and but you trust your instincts, trust the plan that you have put in place, but also be able to measure it. And once it's measured, if it's not going the right way, you can make changes. But if it is going the right way, continue to push hard.
Well, as one of the people in one of those silos that you rely on, I am very thankful to be part of the team and work with the team. And Brad is someone who definitely inspires a high level of trust. When you say you go with your instincts, you definitely go with the people who support you's instincts too, and trust us with what we share with you. And I think that's part of why it works so well. And very excited to be part of this journey. So as everybody, stay tuned because this is just the beginning for Shaker, as far as I'm concerned. In terms of reaching out to you, if we have a listener who wants to contact you or learn more about Shaker, what are the best ways they can go about doing that?
The best way is there was two ways. My email, I answer emails directly. So it's brad@shakerinvest.com. The other place is our website, shakerinvest.com. It's our second website since I've been here. I think it tells a pretty good story about where Shaker's going. The prior website was where Shaker had been, and now this website talks about where we want to go. And I think it gives a good message about Shaker.
And it's interesting. We worked on that website project together. I think I might have to have you back on the show because that's a whole other conversation of going through a legacy website redesign that benefit from, and that could be the big, the good, bad, and the ugly of a legacy website redesign, but the success that comes out at the end. So everybody, thank you for listening today. Brad, thank you for being on here and sharing, very transparently, how you took and integrated marketing and branding and a sales component into a regional organization to take it national. I think it's a really important topic and where a lot of financial professionals want to be and are striving to be, but don't know how to really get started. So you gave them a good outline of the basics of getting on the road and making that happen. So thank you for being here. Everybody, press like on the YouTube channel, share this with your friends, and we will see you next time for Advisor Marketing Mindset. I'm Tina Beck, President of Elite Marketing Concepts, and you can reach me at tina@elitemarketingconcepts.com if you have any questions. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tina. Have a good day.